Hey, Desmond, you have to win.
More, boy. Oh. Come on, wake up,
Hello, welcome to In Defence of the Traditional Martial Arts. Should you kick above waist height in a street fight? Absolutely not. Don't do it, it's too risky. At least that's what a lot of the comments have been saying in a video I uploaded showing an example of somebody successfully throwing a head kick in a street fight. So why? What are the reasons? Why shouldn't you do it? Well, all of the comments I've got that disagree with me, I think you can put into two groups. First group, there's some validity in what they're saying. At the end of the day, all I can do is offer my counter arguments and leave anyone listening to this video to make up their own minds. At the end of the day, it's just my opinion, and my opinion is no more or less valid than most of the content creators, the martial arts content creators on here.
I don't know what Tai Chi is.
The second group, however, I think even if you disagree with me about high kicks in street fights, I truly believe that you will agree with me that these don't make much sense. So I'll start with them, easier to deal with. Same things like high kicks take a lot of skill, that you have to be more skilled than your opponent or your attacker, however you want to refer to them, if you're going to perform a high kick. That you need a lot of flexibility, and that some people don't even have that flexibility. And what was the other one? The most comments I was getting was he could only throw the head kick because he was fighting two drunk bums. So to deal with all of these comments, I feel like all I need to do is pose a simple question, which is, isn't that why we practice the martial arts? Don't we practice the martial arts so we have the skill to perform these techniques? Don't we practice the martial arts so that we are hopefully, if we have to fight someone, more skilled than them? Don't we practice the martial arts to gain the flexibility to do whichever techniques we want to actually do? And fighting, even if it's one drunk bum, isn't that why we practice martial arts? So that we have the skills to deal with them. After all, if it hadn't been for this fighter's skill, it would have been 3 drunk bums fighting. And the idea that people that don't know how to fight aren't scary in any way, that's two people, whether they're drunk, whether they don't really know what they're doing, to somebody that hasn't trained. Even for people who have trained, it's still a scary and risky prospect to fight just one drunk idiot, let alone 2. And also the flexibility. They're saying some people haven't got the flexibility to perform high kicks. It feels like, going up to a pilot and saying, look, I know you've got a pilot's license, but if I flew that plane, that'd be dangerous. I don't think you should either. It don't make sense. Yes, if you haven't got the flexibility, don't use a high kick. It seems like a simple thing to say. Now onto the group of comments that have some validity. First one I'm going to talk about, I kind of spent some time debating whether it should go into group 1 or group 2, but in the end it does have some validity to it if you ignore certain parts of it. So we'll go into it. It was that you're too close to people. In a self-defense situation, you are too close to perform high kicks. Now, I offer you Exhibit A. You can. I also think if there is any potential to end up engaged in a physical confrontation, you should always take Uncle Chow's advice.
I can't let you get close.
Can you hear me?
But it does have some validity. If you find yourself in a busy pub, if you find yourself in a club on a dance floor, if you find yourself in a queue for a kebab or for whatever fast food you get after a night out around the world, pretty much kebabs for us Brits, yes, you are going to find yourself in a position where you probably haven't got the space to perform high kicks. So again, just don't throw a high kick. Yeah, every tool has its job. I wouldn't throw a high kick at somebody who stood next to me, just the same as I wouldn't launch a headbutt at someone who's like 4 foot away from me. Right tool, right job.
That's all there is to it.
I've had people say that high kicks are low percentage techniques. They are, but when landed they are devastating. And I get it, if you're coming from this as a purely like self-defense viewpoint, if you haven't got much time and you just want to concentrate on self-defense, obviously you want to work on your situational awareness, you want preemptive strikes, you want to be able to get up off the ground successfully and safely if you are taken down, you want to practice de-escalation techniques. Yeah, I get that, but if you are a martial artist because you enjoy doing martial arts and your chosen martial art contains within it high kicks, I don't get why you're not going to use it if you have that skill. And a lot of people were saying, if you use a high kick, it's easier to take you down, it's easier to counter you, that often people throwing high kicks, it's more dangerous for the person throwing the technique than the person receiving it. And I know those examples I used were with low kicks. I'm not saying that low kicks are more dangerous to throw than high kicks. I'm just pointing out that every technique you can use has an innumerable amount of counters to it. In terms of high kicks being more dangerous, this kind of belief, I've prepared 2 case studies to watch, and yeah, let's do them now. So the case studies I've prepared are 2 classic grappler versus striker fights, some of the best in the world to ever do it. Let's take a look. First of all, we got Khabib versus Barbosa. As we know, Barbosa has some of the best head kick knockouts ever seen in the UFC. Let's see him here trying strikes and throwing low kicks. Khabib, as we all know, one of the best MMA grapplers ever. Former world champion, never lost an MMA fight. So what we saw there was, even though it was a failed grappling attempt, it didn't come from a kick above the waist. In fact, Barbosa's thrown quite a few body shots there, body kicks, not being taken down or kind of countered once. There's Khabib going in with his own flying technique into a clinch. Again, Barbosa wasn't throwing a high kick at that point, still got taken down. We're into round 2 now. There's Khabib throwing his own head kick with no consequences. A body kick from Khabib with no consequences. Barbosa throws his own body kick, no consequences. Eats a punch from throwing a punch. You know, this is the narrative we're led to believe is, again, Khabib with another high kick. And Barbosa, even after falling down, didn't really suffer any consequences from throwing that very flash back spin kick. Most of these consequences he's getting here are from punches. He's throwing punches and he's getting hit. Now, again, another body kick, no consequence. I'm not trying to say, you know, punches are more dangerous than throwing kicks. Just that if you throw a high kick, it tends to be for a reason. You see an opening and you go for it. If you were to spam high kicks, then there would be dire consequences. And again, Khabib's moved in on this takedown without Barbosa throwing a high kick. It's all from just normal stand-up fighting. Another head kick and no consequence for Barbosa. Another head kick, misses, still no consequence. Khabib didn't counter it, didn't take him down from it. Here we've got a clinch that didn't result from a high kick. It resulted from just being stood up, basically. And yeah, that was the fight. No consequences, and just beaten. But strange enough, the closest Barbosa got to winning that fight was from throwing the head kicks, throwing the high kicks. And so, yeah, should he have thrown them or not? Well, to me, judging by that, he should have, because that was his only real chance of winning that fight, was to get that Hail Mary of a high kick, of a head kick knockout. On to Wonderboy versus Burns. And we start off with Burns is already in on a takedown here, gets Wonderboy down. This is what I mean about, for any, if you're going to practice MMA or if you want to be serious about self-defense, you need to learn how to get up safely from being taken down. Because as much as you might say, I don't want to be on the ground, at some point you will find yourself on the ground and you need to be able to get up safely. Wonderboy progresses to his feet. Very slowly, but you can't rush it, otherwise you will just end up back on your back again. I mean, he's eating those shots, they're not huge. And Wonderboy takes his time and is finally able to get his back off the cage. It's coming to the end of the round. So spins off, a few hits, head kick, and no consequence from it. Into round 2, head kick, runs away, attempted grapple from that, didn't come to anything. Eats a punch, not because he threw any high kicks, but just because they were at that range. So again, Wonderboy, they're exchanging punches here, nothing coming from high kicks. Burns shoots, no high kick thrown, gets him to the ground. Like, the idea is that, when you throw high kicks, it leaves you vulnerable. Yet we're not seeing any evidence of these vulnerabilities. The vulnerabilities come when you enter into the punching, into clinching range against a grappler. Here we see at range, at the sort of range you want to be if you're this kind of fighter, and head kick, no consequence. Gilbert's been caught a few times by now. He's suffering a bit. Wonderboy is feeling a bit good again. He's getting a bit loose. Head kick, actually, again, it's the closest he came to winning this fight was with a high kick. It connected, it got Gilbert Burns down, but Gilbert Burns able to weather the storm. And again, no high kick here, shoots in, gets the takedown after a bit of a struggle. This is a lovely takedown, actually. This is the kind of stuff that only ever works for me when I try. I'm not very good at getting doubles and singles, but I do get these kinds of takedowns myself. And yeah, he's able to dominate for the rest of the round, keep Wonderboy down, and a lot of illegal kicks, blows to the back of the head there. But that's the end of the fight. Gilbert Burns clearly won the fight, but there weren't any consequences, these consequences that I keep getting told about from Wonderboy, the professional and nice guy there. There weren't any consequences for him from throwing the high kicks. And again, the closest he came to winning that fight was from throwing those high kicks. So if we were to believe the narrative that high kicks are really, really dangerous, that they have all of these counters and takedowns that come from them, where are they? And I know there's going to be a lot of people saying, that's the UFC, that's not a street fight. And I'm not one of these idiots that thinks, MMA is going to always work on the streets. I know that there's a rule set in there, but the rule set tends, to the most part, to favour the grapplers. You can't hit to the back of the head, you can't you can't knee to the head when they're on the floor, you can't obviously bite, like eye gouge, strike the groin, all of this sort of stuff. I get it. I get when they shoot in and they're keeping their head down, you know, and they're grounded, you could just knee them in the head, or you could just hit them on the back of the head until they're unconscious. You can't do that in MMA. I get it. There are rule sets there to keep people safe. There are rule sets that allow knees to downed opponents. We still see people successfully using groundwork with that rule set. But yes, the rule set does mean it's different to what we will find in a street fight. However, if we're just looking at what works in a street fight, high kicks work, punches work. So if we're using examples of the consequences that you will get from throwing a high kick, it definitely works to show the very best in the world engaged in those techniques. I don't believe it. I don't believe that high kicks are as dangerous as people make out if you are skilled enough to use them.
I'm sorry.
So I've given my responses to the comments I received as to why I shouldn't use them. But why is it that I think you should use high kicks in a street fight? Well, first and foremost, you know, you throw a high kick with power, precision, timing. It's a devastating technique. I can't even begin to describe what it feels like to receive a kick like that, and what it is to, you know, watch somebody topple over unconscious from just one single strike that you've thrown. If you see the right time to throw that sort of technique, you can end the fight with one blow. And at the end of the day, that's what we all want, isn't it? Even if you don't fully land the technique, you know, it's such a strong technique. I've seen people put their arms up, get their arms broken. You know, tight in, you receive the blow, you go with it, you're still going to get some form of concussive like action from that technique. It's enough that if you're fighting someone and you throw a high kick, even if it just glance blows them, even if it just sails past their face, that is enough to make someone think, damn, this person knows what they're doing. It can change the whole dynamic of the fight once a person knows this person isn't just going to take what I'm going to throw at them. You know, this person's going to fight back. It can change everything. Throwing things like teeps, side kicks, they can keep a distance. They can keep that person from entering too close to you and give a chance for other people to get involved, to stop the fight. If you're fighting multiple opponents, something, I don't live in a fantasy world, I know how dangerous it is, but if you can keep one person back and maintain like a visual of what other people are doing, again, it can just help to keep you out of trouble. In conclusion, I just want to say, you know, yes, there are times when you throw a high kick, you might stumble, someone might grab your technique, you know, you might miss. It's like everything else, just deal with it and move on. I think the potential for ending a fight is far greater than the potential to lose a fight when you throw high kicks. But as I always say, it's up to the person watching this video to make up their own mind. What do you think? Let me know in the comments, and I might do another video, follow-up video to this, if I get enough comments making either really good or really bad points. Subscribe, like this video, and please share it. I know a lot of my videos are getting shared in forums. I've seen them myself on, you know, Facebook groups and the like. That's great. Really loving the support. It's great. I've got over 700 followers now, which is why I said I'd do this video after that. So yeah, thanks for watching. Catch you soon.